When I was a child, I used to think the caterpillar was mean, like a mean, grumpy old man. But now that I'm a full-grown adult and savage, I think that Alice is the one who is annoying. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Strawberry Loli channel. Today I'm going to be trying out the new Alice in Wonderland and Colourpop collaboration collection. So sorry that this was delayed, there's been a lot going on. I just got back from Egypt and I'm actually recovering from a cold right now. I don't know if you can tell by my voice. Really annoying that I caught a cold in business class of all places. I know it was definitely not in Egypt because I didn't start feeling symptoms until like 1 or 2 days after I landed back in Tokyo. But anyway, we're just gonna pretend like it's not happening because I don't have time for it. So let me just go through all of the items that I was able to grab from this collection. I was not able to get my hands on the biggest bundle that they had available, the influencer set or whatever they call it, that had the pocket watch hairbrush, which is what I actually really wanted, so that was kind of annoying. But I got the second biggest one, which just has the eyeshadow palette called Lost in Wonderland pressed powder palette with 12 shades in total, 5 mattes and 7 shimmers. One of the shimmers being more of that matte formula with like sequin glitters sprinkled throughout, so that would be the Nothing's Impossible glittery black down here. That's an interesting mix in my opinion. More shimmers and glitters than I'm usually used to. It depends on your personal preference, of course. I don't mind at this point because I have so many palettes, but in terms of like how much usage I actually get out of the shadows, I find that the palettes with a higher proportion of matte eyeshadows as opposed to shimmers or pressed glitters, I do typically manage to get a more even usage out of the entire palette when compared to palettes that have more shimmer shades. I don't know if that makes sense. Sorry, it's like literally 3 a.m. right now, so I'm kind of out of it. Then we have the 2 pressed powder blushes. There's one with the Red Queen on the cover and it's called Silence, in a bright red color, which is fitting. Who painted my roses red? We all know that's the Red Queen's tagline. And then we have Oh Dear, which is the one with Alice on the cover, and I love this scene that they chose, the one where she's floating in the bottle through the keyhole in the door. Very unique choice of scene. The artwork overall is A+. Like most of Colourpop's IP collaborations, I would say that they have been consistently really great quality so far, especially the ones that have the designs actually reflected in the makeup packaging itself, which typically tends to be treatment that is reserved for their powder formulations, so like the eyeshadow palette and the blushes. The other stuff that usually comes in the plastic packaging, you know, I've harped on this before so I won't talk too much about it, but like for example this time around the shadow sticks, I'm not too keen on how they draw you in with, you know, the equally cute and intricate cardboard packaging that is on par with the eyeshadow palette and the blush, but then the actual product, it's just like plastic with some silver decals slapped on. That's my biggest pet peeve with a lot of these Colourpop collaborations. But anyway, included in this package is also the Pure Madness Overnight Lip Mask, the one that comes in this adorable little mushroom container that everyone on social media was going crazy over. I actually don't think I'm going to be using this at all. I'm probably going to just sell it on Mercari if I'm 100% honest, because as cute as this is, lip masks, overnight lip masks are not really my thing. And I also am just personally not the biggest fan of the birthday cake scent. So yeah, might as well keep that in tip-top condition for the Mercari girlies. And then same goes for the 2 lip kits included in this bundle, Topsy Turvy and Queen of Hearts. They each come with a Luxe lipstick and then a Luxe lip gloss. The Luxe lip gloss is possibly my least favorite lip gloss formula on the planet. It's so sticky and heavy, uncomfortable. I honestly fail to see where there is room for such a product in 2023 when we have so many amazing glossy formulas that actually, you know, they cling to the lips but they don't cling your lips to each other. I feel like so many brands have been able to perfect that balance at this point that I'm just not willing to entertain anything that harkens back to the old days. And then as for the Luxe lipstick, I've actually never tried any of Colourpop's lipsticks, but it looks cheap to me. I don't want it. And I would say sorry for not reviewing it for you guys, but I feel like you guys deserve better too, and you also have high standards for yourself if you watch my channel. So how about I just tell you to like not waste your time right now with these lip products in this Alice in Wonderland collaboration. Again, the packaging is like not even on par with the cardboard packaging that they have for the powder products, and the shades are nothing revolutionary either. Like I'm sure you already have your favorite lip products in these shades. The only reason I can think that anyone would want to own this as a collector's item is because of the box, but like, are you really gonna spend your hard-earned money for a box? I don't know. I did. I should have probably thought this purchase out a little bit better, to be honest with you. It was really hectic and I was like running around trying to get ready for Egypt. I just went the easy route and chose like the biggest bundle that I could get. But now thinking back on it, I could have honestly just done with the palette alone. Without further ado, let's try to create a fun little look with this palette. By the way, there's like a keyhole cut out in the cardboard box here, which I think is really clever and cute. So when you pull it out, it's like... And the palette itself is like more compact than I was expecting, which is a good thing actually in my book. It also opens like a book. I'm all for like spatial, you know, consolidation, saving space, saving materials, but it's still the full-sized eyeshadow pans, so that's great. Let me go ahead and prime my lids with the Kaleidos Tone Activator Primer. And I have no pre-thought out plan about what I'm going to do, so let me just vibe with this color story right here and let myself get spontaneously inspired. Okay, we're starting off with this powder blue, Curiouser and Curiouser. I feel like this is the quintessential Alice color. Like whenever you mention Alice in Wonderland, you just think immediately of that powder blue dress that she has on. I kind of tried to match the vibes with my top today, which is actually like a heart-shaped top. And I want to put that on the inside corner. So yeah, this one and Nothing's Impossible is like a matte with sequin glitters, but you can actually see the glitters, so that's nice. It doesn't just wash away in the blend. And then I'm using Very Merry on Birthday, the lilac shimmer, to just kind of marry the two shades on the top lid there. This one is kind of perfect for that periwinkle blue and pastel lilac combination because the base is violet, but you can see that it kind of has this blue shift in the light, and it comes off like really blue when you layer it on top of the mattes. Not gonna lie, the one thing that is kind of throwing me a little bit off is the lack of darker shadows in this palette. Aside from this black down here, there's really no other option that allows me to deepen up any of the other colors. So in that sense, moving forward, it might be better to think of this palette as more of a companion palette. I'm gonna try my best with this AEIOU purpley shade down here, even though it's like a sheerer metallic. I don't really have any other options, so I'm going to use that to deepen up the outer V. I mean, that's a pretty color combo. It's nice to layer on top of the Talking Flowers lilac shade, but at the end of the day, it's not doing much in terms of adding shadow and depth. That's okay though, like we established, that is not really the main point of this palette. So let me use one of these shadow sticks. This one is in the shade Full of Wonder. It's just like a very light metallic lilac, and I'm gonna put it here in my tear bag. That is really nice actually. It glided on really nicely and it's not slipping around everywhere. So this is kind of just like a cream version of a Very Merry on Birthday. Slightly deeper. This one is, the powder one is more white reflecting in the light. This would be great for inner corner as well. Okay, you know what? I don't like this purple shimmer shade, AEIOU, which is sad because that's the Caterpillar song, right? And you know I love the Caterpillar. I'm always going on and on about how the Cheshire Cat is like my spirit animal because he just gives no Fs, but if you really think about it, the Caterpillar is also a savage, and I need to give him more credit as well. But no, this AEIOU shade is like not doing it for me. First of all, it didn't layer well at all over the matte on my top lid, and I don't know, it's just like patchy and dull overall. Now I'm making it work because I already committed to a purple tear bag, but moving forward, I'm gonna be avoiding this shade, unfortunately. Okay, for the final touch of the eyeshadow, I'm just gonna tap on a sprinkling of I'm Late, which is just this white pressed glitter pan. I typically do really enjoy Colourpop's pressed glitters. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but for me, since pressed glitter is such a staple in all Asian makeup, like Chinese, Japanese, and Korean, I just can't imagine doing a look without it. I'm just putting it everywhere that my spirit is telling me to. See, once you start adding the glitter, it almost doesn't even matter what you did beforehand. It's gonna look bomb. Well, since I already have on a bold red for my lips, I don't want to go overboard with the blush, so I'm going to opt for the pink shade, Oh Dear. This is the one with Alice on the cover. Now, I'm just going to warn you right away, I'm not expecting much from this blush. If you've seen my previous Colourpop review, which I think was the Valentine's Day collection, the heart-shaped blushes that they came out with in that collection, that was my first encounter with Colourpop's new pressed powder blush formulation, and I'm not a fan because, first of all, look at this kick up. And then second of all, well, let me just apply it and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, the color is actually showing up decently. So when I swatched these on my hands earlier, I could not get these to blend into my skin. It was literally like I had to pile on the powder and then eventually I had to just let the powder sit on my skin in order to get a good swatch. Although if you think about it, the point of a swatch should be to represent how a product looks realistically, right? So I could have just left it looking patchy and weird. See, I'm a little bit perplexed now because this one seems to be working fine against my actual facial skin, but on my hand skin it was a different story. And then also a lot of the blushes from the Valentine's Day collection did not work on my face. It's almost as if my skin repelled the powder, and that is not something that I have experienced with Colourpop's older blushes. All the ones that I have from their older collections, including one of the older heart-shaped blushes, those work fine. So you can see the color did go on this time and it's not patchy or anything per se, but here's where the limitation comes in. It's not very layerable at all. Like, no matter how many layers I put on, it just sweeps away the excess powder instead of building on top of the previous layer. That's fine for this particular look. I don't want a heavy blush anyway, but yeah, it's just not my favorite. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be though, judging from the initial hand swatches, so I guess that's kind of a win. And voila, here is the final look. I feel like if I had to attribute a character from the Alice in Wonderland movie to this look, it would be not the Cheshire Cat, not even Alice herself, but definitely the caterpillar is who I feel like I ended up channeling, and I'm here for it, okay? Because you guys know I'm in my most savage era yet, and the caterpillar was an OG savage for sure. Overall thoughts, I'm gonna make this brief because I feel like I say the same thing in every single Colourpop video, but the eyeshadow palette is par for the course in terms of their formulation. Very pigmented, true to the color in pan, and I do appreciate that it seems to be the performance is consistent across the different shades and formulations, just with the exception of this weird AEIOU shade. And then now I'm also kind of getting nervous about Lose Something too, because I feel like this is that same like shimmer with a clear base. Yeah, but this one that's pretty. It's like a nice glossy wine. And actually, okay, AEIOU is probably pretty on its own too. If I laid it down first, directly on top of the eye primer, it would probably have worked better than what I tried to do today, which was to layer it on top of a matte shade. Stark Raving Mad is also the same formula, I think. Yeah, so unfortunately, you know, I didn't get to try out every single shade today. I'm definitely not opposed to revisiting this for a second look in the future though, but today I just wanted to get the initial review out to you guys. Overall, the eyeshadow palette is really nice. I mentioned this in my wishlist video where I included this collection as well. While the color story is not exactly my favorite or my preference, I do appreciate the uniqueness of it. I think it would have been the easiest route to go with really, really bright neon you know, psychedelic type colors for an Alice in Wonderland collab, but instead they went with something more muted and pastel, which is not everyone's cup of tea for sure, including me to a certain extent, but at the same time I respect it and I do want to give credit where it's due. The formula is quite decent. It's on par with Colourpop's other palettes. It's just not like my favorite because you guys know I am a jewel toned girly at heart. The packaging is truly so stunning though. This might actually be my favorite packaging from Colourpop, if not of all time, at least of all year. First of all, this scene of her falling down the rabbit hole, totally iconic, right? They literally have like a little bit of everything that I like going on. They have the ombre, they have the, you know, the metallic lettering, the different textures, the shadow sticks as well. I know I was only able to really use one for you guys today on my eyes, but I was really surprised that I actually really enjoy these as well. I don't know if they ever said that they changed up the formulation on these as well, but I have a feeling they might have, because these are a lot creamier and more emollient than I remember the original launch being. When Colourpop first came out with the shadow sticks product, I remember I bought a bunch in both the matte and metallic formulations. That might have been the issue actually, because I feel like with a lot of the mattes I had some issues with dryness, or just it wouldn't blend out nicely and it would look crepey and weird on my eyelids. I chalked it up to just me, you know, having flat eyelids and maybe not having the eye shape that necessarily lends itself to a product like shadow sticks, which at the time of the initial launch at least, they were a little more on the heavy, messy, crayon-esque side. But with these, now it could just be that all three of these are metallic, which I do remember I having an easier time with the metallics than the mattes in the original launch. All speculation aside though, I found that these three in particular, they do glide on super nicely, like super moisturizing and not clumpy. You know, you can get a nice thin layer and you can build it up a little bit if you want to. I think it's gotta be a formulation change, because like every time I swatch, every time I do a fresh swatch, I see the excess oil in that place where I first make contact with my skin, which sounds bad, but it's totally not a big deal. Just blend it out. Like I need a little bit of that moisture, you know. I don't have dry eyelids at all. I feel like my looks benefit a lot from having that hit of moisture, especially in the under eye area if I'm trying to highlight for the tear bag effect and things like that, things of that nature. And the blushes, again, like I said, it's just never going to be the same as the original pressed powder blush formulation. I can make it work, I guess. I mean, at least in this collection, it seems like these two shades at least are not going to completely repel from my skin. Sometimes it depends on the shade too, like for some reason. Even though that seems like it should be a non-factor, like it should be dependent on the formula, not the shade. But sometimes that's just how it is. Matter of fact, let me just put on some of this Red Queen. It is sticking on there. I don't know if you guys can see. Yeah, this side is definitely a little deeper than this side. So I would say this is more of like a watermelon-y shade than a straight true red blush. You can get a taste of that full red flush without going full painting the roses red. Okay, so the blushes are cute. I guess they're not as bad as I initially expected from my arm swatches. However, I will say that I'm at a point where I'm not, even though I can make these work with just a little bit of effort, I have other blushes that I prefer in my collection, so it's hard for me to find motivation to do that, you know. Why should I put in extra work for these blushes when I have my tried and trues in my collection that give me exactly what I want and more? The Alice in Wonderland packaging, that is a draw for sure, but my blushes are from Korean and Japanese beauty brands, which also have really cute packaging, you know. Granted, they're not Alice in Wonderland. So that's basically my initial reaction to the Alice in Wonderland and Colourpop collaboration. If I missed anything, I will be sure to add it in during the editing phase. Hope that was helpful. Let me know if you're going to pick anything up or have you already purchased something from this collection, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!